Hey guys, I'm Eric.
I'm Grace. We're the Wandering Ravens.
We're an American couple with a deep love for all things UK, so today we're drinking Yorkshire tea and exploring the differences between British and American homes.
Shout out to our friends Jeff and Connie from the UK for sending us this delicious tea. This is a really exciting episode because we've lived in 9 different British houses and dozens of American houses. So we've compiled a rather modest list of differences between British and American homes.
But before we get into those, if learning about how we provincial Yanks live causes you to cackle with glee, then make sure you click subscribe because we release new UK versus USA videos every single Saturday.
Also, make sure you give this video a like to promote it on YouTube, and because if you don't, I will put this tea bag back in my tea.
Okay, the first thing we need to talk about are the differences between the way Brits and Americans talk about the places we live.
In the UK, we would call this a terraced house.
But in the United States, we call this...
Why are you Australian?
Am I Australian?
Yeah, you have to sound like you're from the South.
South.
In the UK, we call this a terraced house.
In the United States, we call this a townhouse. I did it again, didn't I?
You sounded Australian
Shit.
again.
I'll just say it in my normal voice.
Okay, how about that? Up next, we have a semi-detached house.
Which, of course, we would call a duplex or triplex.
In the UK, this is a detached house.
And here in good old Yankee land, this is simply a house.
And last but not least, of course, we have a flat.
Which here in America we call an apartment or condominium. Or condo. And we've heard a lot of people express confusion about the terms apartment and condo, so let's clear that up real quick. Basically, an apartment building is where all the units are owned by the same company or person and they're leased out individually. But a condo could be the same thing as an apartment building in look and appearance, except that all of the units are owned individually. From what I understand, in the UK, there is no distinction between those two. It's simply a flat.
Everything is a flat.
Yeah.
Now that we've defined our terms, let's talk about who lives in what. So, kicking things off with the Yanks, 72% of Americans live in houses, 20% live in apartments, 5% live in mobile homes or trailers, and 3% live in other accommodations such as RVs, vans, and boats.
Across the pond, the numbers are fairly similar, with a little over 79% of Brits living in houses, 20% living in flats, and less than 1% living in other housing like vans, RVs, igloos, and old shoes.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. When it comes to houses, the big difference here is that while 61% of Americans live in detached houses, only 24% of Brits live in detached houses. This difference is easy to explain though, given that American suburbs can basically roll on forever, and so there's a lot more room to build detached houses.
Yeah, that was something that really gave us a culture shock when we first arrived in the UK. It was just the rows upon rows of semi-detached or terraced houses. They're really cool though. They look very nice.
They are. I kind of feel like I would like to live in a terraced house. Terrorist?
A terrorist house?
That's
No.
not what I meant.
Now let's roll into our next difference, look at the floor plans, and talk about house size. Something that surprised us was that in the UK, the average house size is 76 square meters, or for our Yankee friends, that's 818 square feet, which is not only smaller than the average American house, but is also smaller than the average house in Australia, Denmark, France, Spain, and even Ireland. American houses, on the other hand, are nearly 3 times larger than British homes, coming in at an average size of 214 square meters or 2,303 square feet.
That's huge. That is a huge
massive.
house.
Yeah, that is really big.
Now let's talk about flats. The average 1-bedroom flat in the UK is 46 square meters, or 495 square feet. While in the USA, the average 1-bedroom apartment or condo is 70 square meters, or 757 square feet.
Here's another really interesting thing I discovered while doing research for this video. If these numbers that we're shouting off, square footage, size of the house, and all that, if those mean nothing to you, don't worry, you're not alone, because a recent study by Barclays Bank found that 57% of Brits don't know the size of their home, don't even know how big their house is, the square meterage or footage, and 25% of Brits don't actually know what a square meter or foot even is.
This makes sense because we have looked for properties in the UK before, homes in the UK, when we're like, what if we immigrated to the UK? We've looked at homes for sale, and it's very rare to have the square meterage listed at all. So you're like, how big is this place? I have no idea.
This is true because if you're shopping for homes in the States, which whenever we move to a new city, because we do house sitting, whenever we pop up in a new city, we always go on and look at all the real estate to see what housing costs there. And if you look at a housing website here in the States, it's gonna list everything by size. So you can sort by square footage. You can say, I want a minimum of 1,000 square feet, or I want a place between 800 and 1,000 square feet. And most Americans will know the size of their house. So I think this difference between real estate in the UK and the US and listing square footage is probably why most Brits don't know the size of their home. But if you're British, do let us know. Do you know why British real estate companies don't mention the square footage? Because it is very frustrating when we're looking for homes in the UK, which we do rather regularly. And we don't know how big this house is. So I'm like, oh, this house only costs £200,000, but I don't know how big it is, so I can't tell if this is a good deal or a terrible deal.
It's probably just like one of those little stick huts in the backyard.
It's the shoe. It's the old lady's shoe.
Now let's step through the front door and talk about the next difference between British and American homes, which is rooms. So, kicking things off with British homes, the average British house will have a living room, the kitchen, a bathroom or two, a couple of bedrooms, the dining room, and of course, some homes will have the odd conservatory or dungeon.
And we're probably gonna get some flack for the way we said that, because we would say conservatory.
But you guys would probably say conservatory?
That's it. Yeah, conservatory.
I would love to have one in my future probable home someday.
Which might be a British home if we ever figure out the square footage. Now let's jump across the pond and look at the bog standard American house. The bog standard American house will have all of these rooms that we just listed, except for conservatories and of course, dungeons. But the American house will have some rooms that we don't see in the UK very often. These rooms include the laundry room or utility room, the food pantry where you store food, the garage, the basement, and the den or office. Of course, we understand that some British homes, the ones on the larger side, do have these rooms as well, but we've only seen them in 1 or 2 out of the 9 homes that we've stayed in so far. Now let's talk about house construction.
One thing we noticed while we were in the UK was that most homes seem to be built out of brick or stone, whereas across the pond in the US, most of our houses are built out of wood.
And this is a question we've received from a lot of Brits, both in person and in the comment sections. Why are American homes made out of cheap, flimsy wood?
Would you build your ship out of rocks? That is my question. Would you build it out of rocks? I think not.
Yeah, that's true. Case closed. No, but seriously, wood is cheap, strong, it's renewable, and it also lasts forever. There's, I think the oldest American house that's made out of wood dates all the way back to the 1600s. And in the UK, you guys have wooden houses dating back to the 1300s. Another misconception that we hear a lot is that American homes are only made from wood. But there is a lot of regional variety. In some places in the States, wood is really rare, and most houses are actually built out of brick and masonry. And in parts of the States where there are wooden houses, they're generally a compilation of cinder blocks, bricks, stone, steel, beams, sheetrock. I think the difference here is that throughout the history of the UK, there's been this long history of deforestation. And so lumber hasn't been a plentiful resource. So it just makes sense. Brick and stone houses make sense there. Whereas in the States, we have lumber everywhere. And so it makes sense that houses are made out of wood. So I don't think one is better than the other.
I think a stone cottage is better than the other.
That's true. I like the stone cottages, but I also like the half-timbered houses, like Tudor houses and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, those look really nice. You don't like Tudor houses?
No, I like them, but I wouldn't want to live in one. I would want to live in a stone cottage.
All right, now we're going to start talking about some of the fun miscellaneous differences between British and American homes, starting with washing machines.
So it's common for British people to have their washing machines located in their kitchens, which was quite a surprise to us because here in the US, we have a separate room that is dedicated to washing your clothes.
Along a similar vein, 80% of American households have a clothes drying machine, while only 58% of British households do. In the UK, when we house sit, we have to get used to air drying our clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's always such a pain because the UK is a little bit more damp. I feel like it takes a long time for anything to dry. It'll just stay perpetually wet for days. It makes sense that in the UK, where you guys are more environmentally conscious in general than here in the States, you guys would forego having a drying machine.
Although I would put this in the category of accidentally environmentally friendly. Kind of like the house size. Like it's not intentional, it's more a consequence of size constraints. But it's a positive consequence.
The next difference between British and American homes is closets. Closets are another feature of the American house. In fact, in standard real estate practice, it's common to not actually list a room as a bedroom unless it has a closet.
Across the pond in the UK, we never saw a bedroom with closets. From what I remember, all of the homes we stayed in either had a wardrobe for clothes or they had those fitted wardrobe things that go over the bed, which at first we thought were really nice. We walked into a room with it and we were like, this looks so great. But the friends we were staying with quickly informed us that it's considered quite tacky and poor taste.
It was news to us. Have you ever seen one of those in the States?
I haven't. Have you?
Me neither. No, I haven't.
Yeah. So you guys let us know, is this poor taste or is this the height of fashion?
Another thing about the closet craze is that it's a huge status thing to have like a walk-in closet. Like if you have a walk-in closet, you're like making it.
Yeah, you need to be able to display your thousands of pairs of shoes and pants and clothes and anyways.
Not pants.
Thousands of pairs of pants! The next big difference is porches. In the UK, we didn't really see any houses with porches, especially wraparound porches, a feature that is almost ubiquitous with American homes.
Porch furniture? Yes.
Porch swings.
Porch swings are really common.
Instead of having a porch, Brits seem to opt for a backyard patio or garden patio. And this reminds me of another difference that we noticed. You guys can confirm or deny this for us, but it seems that British people prefer to hang out behind their house rather than in front of it, whereas Americans, it's a pretty even mix of both. In the UK, if you go to someone's house, you're always going to be in the garden, never in the front garden bit.
I actually prefer that because it feels more like you are in that person's space. Like, you know, it's more hospitable,
in the
more
garden.
welcoming. Yeah, in the back, as opposed to being in the front where all the neighbors can walk by and be like, oh, wonder what's happening over at Jackie's house today. The next difference is microwaves. Now, as you guys probably already know, it is very common for pretty much every American household to have a microwave in their kitchen. This is for reheating things like coffee or soup or even, God forbid, tea.
Not just reheating tea, but actually boiling the water for tea.
I've still never done that before.
My family did it growing up.
Really?
I'm
So you'd
ashamed to admit.
stick the water in there and like wait for it to boil and then you pull it out and put the tea bag in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But it's really terrible because what it does is it heats up the mug itself. So you have to like use a napkin or something to pull it out of the microwave because the whole mug is on fire.
I've literally never done that. I thought when the Brits were making fun of us for doing that, that wasn't something any Americans did.
No, it's something Americans do. I'd like to say, I'm not throwing my family under the bus, they did eventually get rid of the microwave and now exclusively use an electric kettle.
The next difference is dishwashers. Around 49% of British households have dishwashers in their home, whereas around 68% of American households have dishwashers.
Just like with laundry machines and dryers, this makes a lot of sense. There's a lot less room in a British house, so you're not gonna have room for a dishwasher. But on the plus side, since you have the clothes washing machine in the kitchen already, you can just chuck your tea mug and plates in there. Tumble wash.
Tumble wash them,
Yeah.
pull them out, and
Got your pants and your plates clean in the same load. Nice.
that's great.
The next difference is one I'm really excited about because I haven't seen anyone mention this before, and so this might be an Eric and Grace original. And this difference is hallways. While American homes do have hallways, they're not used quite the same way as they are in the UK. The big difference is that in the UK, when you walk into a house, you almost always walk into a hallway. Of the 9 homes that we stayed in, I want to say 8 of those had you walking directly into a hallway rather than into, like we have in the States, into a living room, into a kitchen, or another sort of common area. So what I'm talking about is that in the UK, you have a house. So here's a house, beautiful, beautiful house. and you'll have the front door. Here's the front door. And then when you walk in, you have this hallway, and then very often you have stairs off to one side. So this is an example of a house that we stayed in Leeds. Come in the front door here. If you go through the back, there's some bedrooms back here. You go up the stairs to the second floor here if you want. But the thing that really tripped me up, and the thing that I want to ask you guys about, is that here you have this hallway, you have these walls, and then you have a door. And if you walk through here, you walk into the living room. And what really confused me is why this hallway existed. Because it seems to me like if you just knock down these walls and this door, you would have a much bigger living room. It would increase by 2 to 3 feet if you build houses in the UK, and you know why. Is it just tradition? I feel like you could really maximize on space and have a much bigger house by knocking those walls down. Now that we've talked about a difference that confuses us about the UK, let's hop across the pond and talk about something that bugs the heck out of us in the States. So this difference, let's just call it stupid granite countertops. Most American kitchens seem to have what I like to call stupid granite countertops. The granite that I'm talking about has that shine. It's almost like it has little bits of silver in it. You know,
yeah, okay.
Glitter.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, you put a light on it and the counter glitters. Ugh, it's so bad.
You think it just looks maybe a little tacky or a little bit like it's supposed to look luxurious, but maybe it's just kind of...
Yes, that's exactly
it's an attempt
what
to
it
look
is.
posh.
Yeah.
It fails.
But we never saw those in the UK, which was a huge reprieve. We needed that. And so thank you, UK, for helping us recover from stupid granite countertops. Now it's your turn. What differences have you noticed between British and American homes? And is there anything about American homes in particular that really confuses you if you're not American? Drop those questions down in the comments and we will do our very best to answer those. And if you haven't already, do make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Not only does that help us grow and spread the glory of British culture around the internet, but it also makes sure that you do not miss our next British culture video.
A cheeky thank you to our patrons, Andrew and Simon. We really appreciate you guys and your support of our endeavors here on the YouTube. If you are curious how to join our Patreon, the link to that is down in the description.
Again, I'm Eric.
And I'm Grace.
We're the Wandering Ravens.
And we'll see you in the next video.
TTFN.